that will be in the car will start tomorrow's race. In GT3, it's really between Martin Kodrich and Dennis Lin's Lamborghini and Patrick Niederhauser's Mercedes, with Nick Foster, the Ferrari driver, as a mathematical outsider, but he would need a lot of good luck and a lot of bad to befall the others for him to be the champion. In GT4, Reinhold Renger, you could argue, is a shoe-in, but actually his margin is narrower. He's had more wins than anybody in the class, but only one more than Takayuki Kinoshita and Sunako Yukusho. So it's still very tight in the GT4 competition as well, between Mercedes and BMW, whereas you've got Lamborghini versus Mercedes versus Ferrari, effectively, in the GT3 competition. Now, factor into all of this that if you do well in the previous race, you end up with an extra penalty in the pits, 15 seconds if you're the winner, 10 and 5, second and third. So there's no guarantee that if you do well in one race, you'll do well in the next. You might if a safety car comes into play. However, we'll see how that shakes out over the course of this afternoon's race. It means that the winners of the last race, namely Kodrich and Lind, will have to serve this extra time in the pits. Every race has a mandatory pit stop anyway, shorter pit stop times for GT3 cars over the GT4, and it's going to be, no doubt, another intriguing race today, setting us up nicely for tomorrow's championship showdown. We've had some great racing this year, great variety of winners, real spread of victors across the championship that started in Sepang in Malaysia, it went to Buriram in Thailand, then 2 events in Japan at Suzuka and then at Fuji, and this our second Chinese visit. We've been to Shanghai and now to Ningbo, but bear in mind that this is the first time the championship has raced here. 1 or 2 drivers will know the circuit, but relatively few, and the teams are a bit short of data from this championship as well. So what better way, and we had it last year with Zhejiang as a new circuit, but this year at Ningbo, where better to end the season than somewhere that is a relative unknown for the majority of the field, and it really tests everybody. The session due to get underway, but we've got a 5-minute delay from the previous support race practice session. So a 5-minute delay. You look down onto the Ningbo International Speed Park circuit. It's just over 4 kilometres in length, and it has a mere 22 corners. There's an awful lot crammed in here. So from the driver's point of view, it's work, work, work all the time. There is a relatively short pit straight where they can catch their breath, couple of back straights as well, but there are hairpins, there are S's, there are tight corners. We'll see how this is going to affect life in a GT car, where you can overtake. It really is a bit of a step, as I say, into the unknown for many of the teams. Yesterday, they did the 2 free practice sessions. Today they have had the official practice session. Raffaele Marciello, the gun, this morning, he did a 1 minute 41.918 as the fastest time of the weekend. Yesterday Tim Slade was in the low 42s in FP2 and Raffaele Marciello was in the mid 143s in FP1. So as you'd expect, times have got better and better as the weekend has gone on. And Raffaele Marciello, who can't win the championship, but he could win a race, comes now into play to see what the best time that he can offer up and what the opposition will do in relation to his target time from the official practice session this morning. So it's going to be Raffaele Marciello in 888 Mercedes that will do the second session. Co-driver, teammate Alexander Matschel will do Q1. In 1 minute's time, the fast lane will be open, we'll be good to go. And then this first 15-minute qualifying period will shortly be underway. The cars to look for as far as the championship is concerned: number 19, Lamborghini, Dennis Lind will do Q1. Number 999, Mercedes, but with Nico Bastian not having done every race alongside Patrick Niederhauser, they're on a different number of points. So Patrick Niederhauser, from that car, the only one that could win the championship, and he will do Q2. And then third in the championship, 27, Ferrari, Nick Foster, that had a win in Shanghai. So temperatures going up, bright and sunny. Last year we finished in the rain. This year we're going to finish in the sunshine. Track temperature 43 degrees. Everybody in this championship running on Pirelli rubber. And you look there to the end of the pit lane. The fast lane is open, so the team's now coming garage by garage down to the end of the pit road, ready to go out and try to get themselves some clear track space. The fast lane is open for the 12 priority GT3 cars, and then we will be good to go very shortly. Pit lane will be open and the session to go live. GT3 and GT4 mixed together. GT4 really has taken off globally in the last 2 years. BMW M4s taking on the bullet-shaped Porsche Cayman, taking on the Mercedes-AMG GT4. We have this weekend as well, for the first time in the championship's history, an all-female crew, because the number 88 Mercedes is going to be driven by Diana Rosario and Naomi Zhang. This is the AMG Driving Academy Team LSH Motorsport entered car, and Naomi Zhang into the championship for the first time. She's driven in the Audi LMS Cup and the Asia Pacific Ferrari Challenge this year, but has been a GT driver in the past, going back to the Asian GT Masters of 2009. She's done a bit of single-seater racing, the Clio Cup, the Sirocco Cup, and China GT as well. So an experienced peddler joining Diana Rosario, the Macanese driver that we saw at Shanghai. There are the Phoenix Bentleys lined up good to go, alongside number 8 Ferrari, which will have Hiroaki Nagai to start the qualifying period. Andre Couto, incidentally, the Macanese driver, former Macau Grand Prix winner, he will drive Bentley number 5, replacing Marchie Lee this weekend. And it's going to be interesting to see what progress the Phoenix run Bentleys have made over and above what we had in Shanghai. Right, more and more of them venturing down to the end of the pit lane. Nissan, Porsche, Audi, all good to go. It's a great mix of cars that we have. 27 cars for this final weekend of Blancpain GT Series Asia. The organisers actually having to limit because of the amount of space in the paddock, in the pit garages and on track, because it's one of the shorter venues that we come to, and it's also one of the narrower ones. So really, for safety's sake as much as operational sake, the entry limited to 27 cars for the purposes of the weekend. That is certainly enough to give us 2 belting races, of that you can be guaranteed, as they're in GT4 land. Number 72 Mercedes is the Team iRace.win car of Ringo Chong and Alex Au, and 88 is alongside, that being the Naomi Zhang Diana Rosario car, and it's going to be Naomi Zhang that will do Q1. Lots of attention inevitably surrounding that car. So we've got the GT3 field pretty much queued up and ready to go, and as I say, the session's delayed by 5 minutes, so 11:35 it was due to start, 11:40 it should start. That's in just under 2 minutes time. Start to place your bets. Who is it going to be that will come out on top? There is the Grupper M Mercedes, which is always a car to watch. Behind you've got the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari, and the 2 FFF Racing Team Lamborghinis nestling in the queue, sitting further back as well. Pit window between 25 and 35 minutes of the race, and the cars then will be released for this qualifying session very shortly. If you're in GT3, just to look forward to the race, it's a 90-second pit stop. In GT4 it is 125, and those carrying the pit stop penalty into race 1, number 19 Lamborghini, number 63 Lamborghini and 888. Now it's only of those 3, number 19 Lamborghini, the Lind Kodrich car, that is fighting for the championship. But as far as GT4 is concerned, 15 seconds for Kinoshita and Yukusho, who are the drivers chasing Reinhold Renger, and he is pit stop penalty free. So the GT4 situation, just as GT3 will be, is going to be really intriguing when we get to the race this afternoon. The fast lane remains open. The pit lane is into its last minute before it opens, and very shortly everybody will blast away then. Good to go. If you get out early and buy yourself some clear track space, it is going to make all the difference. And it looks as though it is Alexander Matschel, the experienced German driver, who is going to do that for Grupper M, a team that came back into the sport really last year. Kenny Chen's team with great success. Green lights go on at the end of the pit lane. The session is live then, so Q1 for the penultimate race in Blancpain GT Series Asia 2018 is go. It's extraordinary when you consider the quality of driver, team, racing that we've had in this. We've not yet got to the end of season 2. We've not yet had 23 races even. The KCMG Nissans make their way down the pit lane. Another of the Porsche Caymans there, good to go with 17. That's going to be Keo Chang to do Q1. 911 Porsche. That is Sandy Stuvik, the Thai Norwegian driver, behind the sister car in the red colours. Darrell Young at the wheel of it. So the road gets busier, and now we'll start to see a target time. Remember, anything in the low 141s will be exceptionally good. A high 141 is where they're aiming initially. Right, the one car that's, or one of the 2 cars still in the pit lane is 86, which has had a rotten season. This is the car of Aditya Patel and Mitch Gilbert. They won both races at the equivalent final event last year. this year the OD Racing Team WRT car has really struggled, and WRT confirmed yesterday as moving into the DTM next year. Vincent Vossi's squad is now a customer team for Audi in the DTM, so how that's going to affect the GT programme from here on, it remains to be seen. Huge presence from AMG Motorsport here with the Mercedes fleet, both in GT3 and GT4, as the cars then wriggle their way around the circuit. 999 through, which for Q1 is Nico Bastien. And they're up towards the left-hander at turn 5, goes 51, that's Andrew McPherson. So everybody venturing out onto the road, including number 10, the KTM, which is Justin McMillan for this weekend. Inkut Tamidi is not able to take part in the races at the 11th hour, so it's become a solo driver car, and it will gain an extra pit stop penalty because of it being a soloist. 11 Porsche is Tony Fong to do Q1. So 15 minutes around here. It doesn't give you many laps. Get your first one out of the way, which is your installation lap, then you can go for it. And traffic inevitably is going to be a factor, so it'll be really interesting to see. And I just wonder whether OD Racing have played this right by going out late, be behind the traffic. Could that come into play in a positive vein for them? We'll find out. Everybody being warned by the race director to keep the lights on if they're on a qualifying lap. 23, Eduardo Liberati going way, way wide over the curb there. Liberati's on it for definite as he comes now up the straight. So number 23, Nissan, powers through. Through turns 5 and 6. Short straight coming up. And then the hairpin. Eduardo Liberati pushing, pushing, pushing. And again, running very wide indeed, losing track position against the 27 Ferrari, John O'Lester at the wheel of it. Winner at Shanghai. And again, Liberati way wide over the curb. So, what's that, 3 times on the lap? Clatters over the curb there, look, going through that chicane. And then down towards the end of the lap he will be in a moment. So Eduardo Liberati is certainly given the car a fair workover on this lap. Picks up the pace, comes now down through turns 19 and 20. So for many of the drivers here, it's a step into the unknown. It's a new venue, it's not one that they know. And that's why they've needed as much track time as possible over the course of the weekend. So out of turn 21, and the kink at 22 brings you onto the pit straight. So Eduardo Liberati goes through. The fastest time we've had, incidentally, 97 for Roelof Browns, 144.016, as through turns 1 and 2, which is one kink into a tight left-hander, goes 23 Nissan. There is 911 behind Sandy Stuvik now, coming up to turn 3 and 4. Onto the back part of the circuit now, and somebody making a mistake in the background. That was one of the Audis getting it all wrong. I think the car has just about survived, but having a moment there. Up towards the end of the first sector then comes the Porsche. There is 991. That's the Darrell Young car. And treble 6 going rather slowly. Raichiro Otsuka, who was second in class in one of the 2 Japanese races at Fuji, but back with Reinhold Rengo. I just wonder whether that's him trying to keep out of the way before he goes for a time, or whether it's a problem. But that car is certainly going slowly as it comes towards the chicane there. Through turns 11 and 12. There is 37. Audi, which in this session has Anthony Liu behind the wheel and has gone second fastest to Dennis Lind. So Anthony Liu going strongly, in fact, in this car that he shares with Alessio Picariello. They went very well in the first race at Shanghai. Edoardo Liberati now goes to the top of the times. So the Nissan is quickest by 0.132 of a second. Edoardo Liberati to the very top. Anthony Liu presses on. There is 63, currently down 9th. Hiroaki Hamaguchi. Behind is Dennis Lind in the sister car that's now dropped to 3rd because Nico Bastian has gone up to 2nd fastest, 1:43.159. Dennis Lind then, championship leader, hustling on. You don't get points for pole position, but you do get pride, and it also puts you ahead of any dramas at the start of the race. Rattles over the curb there, going through turns 11 and 12. And more traffic ahead, look. Teammate Hamaguchi almost gets tripped up by the BMW. That delays him. And so through to gain track position goes Dennis Lind. Down towards the hairpin at turn 15. That slow Mercedes was Alexander Matschall trying to get out of the way, I think, as they drop now downhill towards the end of the lap. So Dennis Lind over the timing line. Can he fight back? He can. He goes quickest, 1:42.936. Dennis Lind quickest by 0.185 of a second. All looking very competitive up front at the moment with half the session still to go. GT4 currently being headed by Ringo Chong. Ringo Chong is the fastest, but the best lap of this session, Dennis Lind at 1:42.936. And now he gets caught up, look, behind number 28 Ferrari there, which has got Maurice Chen, the team principal, at the wheel. 23, Edoardo Liberati looking quick, 2nd fastest. He's in the 1st sector, just going out of turn 3 now. Kink at 4, and now this straight up towards the next left-hander. Out of turn 6 he comes. That in turn brings you to the end of sector 1, and let's see what the time is. It's slightly up on Lind's lap, but it's not as good as a previous effort by Edoardo Liberati. Comes out of the turn 9 hairpin, runs it wide, and now sprints along this short back straight towards effectively a 90 left. Now remember, when we last looked at Liberati, he was way wide at places. He's again using all the track limits there into the chicane now of 11 and 12. Leaps over the curb. Cars get a fair punishment there. It's going to be interesting after an hour of racing to see whether they can sustain that abuse, really, of being hurled over the curbs quite so readily. 23, Edoardo Liberati down in sectors 1 and 2, so it's not coming for him this lap at the moment as he comes out of turn 15. Maybe the next lap for Liberati is the one to look for. How's GT4 getting on? It is now Otsuka who is the quickest. So the Mercedes, when we last saw it, was going slowly to one side of the road. Otsuka has speeded up and now done the best time. Otsuka then is the fastest. Where's that going to? That's Anthony Liu bailing out at turn 1. Ringo Chong goes through, gains track position. He's currently 4th in class in qualifying. Ringo Chong in the Team iRace.win Mercedes, going strongly. Great enthusiast, great character, Ringo Chong. Enlivens many a press conference over a Blancpain GT Series Asia weekend. But we could do with him having a win this weekend to round out his season in style. 81 BMW looking good. This is the car that is currently fastest in GT4. So Yukosho is the man behind the wheel of it, and he's going for a 5th pole position of the season. Sonako Yukosho. The Bentleys are going strongly. Andre Kuto has just put the champion liveried car up to 6th fastest. Kinoshita through in 81. Now that's a change from what we were told, because it should be Yukosho at the wheel. Yes, the timing screen says Yukosho. So Kinoshita will do Q2. Ignore the graphic for that one. It is definitely Yukosho behind the wheel. Timing screen confirms. So there is the BMW Team Studi entry. 51, the Andrew McPherson Lamborghini. He shares with Ben Porter. And off the road, Maurice Chen. Now that's got some damage at the front of it, the Ferrari. and he's had a slide across the grass, as you can see, but 28 Ferrari is going to get going again. That is coming up to the chicane. So, oh, and have we got problems for 63? We have. Have they had a coming together? I think they might have done. 63 Hamaguchi has got damage on the front. It's all happened at turn 10. So that's coming through that left before the chicane. So Maurice Chen's Ferrari gets going. Hiroaki Hamaguchi will limp back to the pit lane. And I suspect in both cases they're going to have to call this a session now and start the repair work, aren't they? Ready for Q2. So Lind Liberati, Bastien, Lu Cheng, Kuto, Lester, Browns, Patel, and then Kim is the order in the top 10. Last improver was Sandy Stuvik to go 11th. 999. Nico Bastien goes over the timing line and improves, does he, on that lap? Improves his speed, but not his overall lap time. Goes a little bit wide through turns 2 and 3. And yes, it was contact between 28 and 63, and it's under investigation. So you saw the damaged Lamborghini, you saw the Ferrari off the road. It is being looked at as Nico Bastien then, the experienced German driver, turns up towards now the approach to turn 7. Hamaguchi has got back into the pit lane for the FFF Racing Team guys to start work. Might have to be renamed FFS after the contact, but the team will start the work in earnest to get it out, hopefully not miss any time within Q2. Flashing the lights from Nico Bastien there to say to Yukusho, I'm quicker, please get out of my way. And now starting to struggle to find improvements in sectors nor in lap times. Through on the inside line of the chicane, leaps the Mercedes. Nico Bastien only has to find 0.224 of a second to go onto pole position. Into the pit lane has come Maurice Chen. Yeah, there's marks up the left as well as damage on the right, so clearly there was a fair old rub between the two cars causing that incident. Nico Bastien hustles on, waiting for the next improvement. They're not that plentiful at the moment. We have had one from Ken Urata in the second of the BMW Team Studi M4s. But the flag will be out at the end of the next lap as far as Nico Bastien is concerned, and he goes quickest. He was down in Sector 1 and down in Sector 2, but an absolute best in Sector 3 has just put him onto pole position. A 142.838, what an extraordinary lap. It was very, very understated, but that well put together first and second sectors, plus an absolute best in Sector 3, has put him up onto pole position. Number 19, Dennis Lind, then trying to fight back. He's 0.98 of a second back, 98 thousandths back, and an absolute best in Sector 1. Down in Sector 2 by 4 tenths. So Dennis Lind has lost out in the middle of the lap. Can he fight back in the final element as he drops down the hill here? Number 19, then Dennis Lind is looking good. Comes then now through turn 20, 21, over the timing line. He will go the kink at 22. Is it quick enough? It is not. It's a 42.949, so he misses out by just over a tenth of a second. But Dennis Lind still for the front row, but not onto pole position. So the flag will be out at the end of this next lap for him. He will get one more lap out of the session. But for Nico Bastien, currently he is the quickest. Eduardo Liberati, who is in the pit lane, is third. And a great effort this by Anthony Liu to be fourth overall, because he's one of the Pro-Ams, and he's very much the Am in the Pro-Am contingent there. So fourth quickest, Anthony Liu doing a really good job. Put Alessio Picariello into that car, watch it fly in the second part of qualifying. How's 86, Aditya Patel there going through the shot, and the red and blue Audi doing 11th, that car is. And Patel on this lap down on his previous laps in Sector 1 and Sector 2. So the WRT run Audi, change of team for them for this season. It's not been a great year. Goes over the line, stays 11th fastest. GT4 still looks like it's going to be Yukusho for pole number 5. So Nico Bastien starts provisionally on pole position. Remember that he is partly here to help Patrick Niederhauser win a championship. They've not been together all season, but Patrick Niederhauser being given a very good chance here by Nico Bastien, putting the car onto provisional pole position. 27th Ferrari, Jono Lester 7th. Keeping out of harm's way. And Roelof Browns has just gone 4th quickest in the Indigo Racing Mercedes. Now that's going to be one to watch this weekend, because Roelof Browns, we know, is good from what we saw in China GT and GT4 last year, but he's got Manuel Metzger with him, who excels in Mercedes. He's a regular part of the Black Falcon team in Blancpain in the VLN at the Nürburgring, and so with the experience there, I think that could be a car to watch. The KTM keeping out of the way. Flag is out. Alexander Matchell only 13th, frustratingly for him. But the last couple of cars to take the flag, I think we're going to do it in the pit lane, in fairness. So here at Ningbo, Q1 at an end. The Blancpain GT Series Asia Championship decider, and it is going to be a thoroughly fascinating weekend. 2 one-hour races with all the drama that they have with the pit stops, with the driver changes, and in some cases differing pace of drivers. But looking good so far. The grunt and go Mercedes ahead of the Lamborghini. Nico Bastien then is the fastest. Nico Bastien by 0.098, 98 thousandths of a second then. That's all there is in this ultra competitive championship between the top two. Good effort though by Roelof Browns there, number 97. Comes down the pit lane. Former single-seater racer in Europe, but goes very, very well in this part of the world in GT cars. Gets to the Indigo Racing squad. The Korean team has a quick look over the car, gets it ready for Manuel Metzger for Q2. But at the end of the first part of qualifying, Nico Bastien is the fastest then by 98 thousandths from Dennis Lind, second. Eduardo Liberati third, Roelof Browns fourth. So that gives you 2 Mercedes in the top 4. Different teams though. 5th quickest Anthony Liu, 6th quickest is Frankie Cheng, and Nico Bastien, the man that is the fastest. Great effort to start the morning, giving Patrick Niederhauser a good chance in race 1. Let's hear from Nico Bastien with Claire.
With us now, we've got Nico Bastien, 999 Mercedes. Nico, you pulled one out of the flying lap on that last lap. Tell us, what about that pace going on?
It was not easy. You know, you line up in the fast lane when you're in the top 10 in the last free practice, but we were on P12. So I had a lot of GT4 cars ahead of me, and that was very tough to manage because the track is so little, you cannot overtake easily the GT4 cars. So my first set of tire was a disaster with traffic. My second lap was also not good, but was good enough, luckily. And it's a very important pole here, very important. Not only because of the championship for Patrick, that we need to be ahead of the Lamborghini, it's also that you cannot overtake here. So you see it's a lot of stress here.
Thank you very much, Nico.
Thanks, Claire. Good to hear from Nico Bastien then. A lot of stress here, said Nico. That's because the team are trying to get the car back into the pit garage, or near the pit garage, ready to do the work required and then get to the driver change to put Patrick Niederhauser into the car. So the pole position time is a 1:42.838 from Nico Bastien. That is his first pole of the season. There's been this amazing spread in GT3 of pole position drivers, whereas it's pole number 5, which is a record for Juke in GT4. The fast lane is now open, so those that are entitled go screaming down towards pit out, ready to get onto the circuit. Q2 is about 5 minutes away, all being well. So there's the break between them, but we started Q1 5 minutes late. So the only person, I think I'm right in saying, that's had 2 poles within GT3 is Dennis Lind. It's been this great spread across the GT3 drivers, so competitive has it been all season. And Nico Bastien then adds his name to the list with that pole in Q1. Nico Bastien, who came from karting through Formula BMW and Volkswagen Polos, mini champion, VLN racer, and then in the last, 3-4 seasons really, has been a very busy European GT racer. Now there's liquid that has been put down in the pit lane. Somebody has had a problem. There's oil in the pit lane. I can just see the marshals putting some cement dust down on it as they come past our window, and a 5-minute delay is therefore going to affect this session as well, just to let that be swept in and try and soak up the liquid. Now, who it is that's put the oil down, not sure. Try and get a report if we can as to which car. The scrutineers will want to see it before it goes onto the circuit, because the last thing it wants to do is spread more oil. So the marshals are hard at work in the pit lane and also out on the circuit as well. Has that come from the Lamborghini after the incident with the Ferrari 63? And if it has, it means there's about half a lap's worth of oil, because that incident was at turn 10 and we've got over 20 corners by number on this circuit. So that's the reason for the delay, just to try and treat the oil. This is a long time since I've seen brooms like that for track sweeping. But they are still in existence, gosh. So as soon as the race director, Ravin, is happy, then the teams will be given notice that the session is due to go, and we will get Q2 underway. There's Australia in the pit lane. You've got the Justin McMillan KTM, and now Ben Porter to get behind the wheel of the Lamborghini. Cars going to the end of the pit lane in readiness, and there's the cement dust being put down in the pit lane. Where does it take the marshals to? Look, it's like the walk of shame, this, in a sense, isn't it? Because you just follow the oil, and which car do you get to? Surely it's going to be FFF Racing Team. It's up there, isn't it, where 63 has arrived after its incident. Yes, there you can see the team working on the car. So it is 63 that I think has had a damaged oil cooler after that contact. And so Hiroshi Hamaguchi getting involved with Morris Chen, having dramas. Now let's try and catch up on GT4. Sanako Yokusho and his translator are in the pit lane celebrating GT4 pole, and they are with Claire Jedrek.
With us now we have Sanako Yokusho in car number 81 for the BMW. He is on pole for the GT4 category. Sanako, tell us all about that flying lap.
One attack. S-curve is GT3 Lamborghini touching. Mistake, and second lap, one more attack.
Perhaps.
So there wasn't traffic, very difficult, but I could make it. If there is no traffic, I can make better than that.
Well, congratulations and thank you. Good luck for the race.
Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. So pole position for Sanako Yokusho, talking about the traffic and seeing the incident between the Lamborghini and Ferrari happening ahead of him. Mistake made, and the two cars making contact. Right, the oil is still being treated along the circuit, and the pit lane is due to open in estimation in 6 minutes' time, so it is going to take a little bit longer than anticipated. A really busy weekend here at the Ningbo International Speed Park, because there is not just Blancpain GT Series Asia, but there is the Geely Super Cup, the circuit owned effectively by Geely. We have also the Formula 4 Chinese Championship and the burgeoning Formula 3 Asian Championship, in which British driver Jake Hughes, as you might anticipate, given that he's a very good young Brit, has done a great job in the championship and also in the practice and qualifying sessions so far this weekend. For the Blancpain GT Series Asia teams, however, the championship showdown, and nerves are jangling in the pit lane as they wait for the green light to go on to release them to get into business. There, the scrutineers, the technical team, all having a look at number 63, FFF Racing Team, in a funny kind of way, have helped themselves by putting the oil down, because by the session's start time being delayed, they've got more time to work on the car. So, although they've got more work to do, they have got the time in which to do it. We are about 4 minutes away, all being well, from the session getting underway. And now the cement dust being blown from the circuit, so it's been put down and swept in, and now the residue is being wafted away. And that hopefully means we're getting closer to the session start time. This great entry, including Audi and Bentley, Ferrari, Nissan, Lamborghini, Mercedes, KTM, Porsche and BMW, all represented this fabulous grid across GT3 and GT4 at the FFF Racing Team garage. Still the work goes on number 63. That's the car that is in with a shout of winning the Pro-Am element. The Am competition, incidentally, already decided. That was won in Shanghai. But that doesn't give you the impression that 63 is going anywhere anytime soon, does it? That car is still a long way away from being ready to go. Marco Mappelli should be the man to do the driving chores in Q2. The pit lane will open in 3 minutes' time, so we are starting at 12:10. They might just get it out for one lap, and that might all be what Mappelli needs. Because if he can just get a lap time in, even if it puts him mid-grid, it's better than being at the back, arguably, rather than being behind all the traffic, especially on a circuit where overtaking is so difficult. So just over 2.5 minutes before we go to Q2. Let's just finish off the story of Q1, though, because Dennis Lind, after a great effort to be on the front row of the grid, is in the pit lane. Speaking to Claire.
With us now in P2, Dennis Lind in the Lamborghini, car 19. Tell us, you just got pipped there by Nico Bastian.
Yeah, well, we were a bit unlucky with the traffic, I think. My teammate had a bit of a crash with a BMW, and that ruined my fastest lap, because I think we had definitely time for a pole, but we're not always lucky on the track, but I think we got the best potential from what we had.
Brilliant, thank you.
So Dennis Lind sets his sights now on race 1, the penultimate round of Blancpain GT Series Asia. Still starting on the front of the grid will be a good place to be, ahead of the majority of the traffic, therefore. And Q2 will be getting underway very shortly indeed. Ben Porter there with the iMac car, Andrew McPherson's team, which has been a really welcome addition to Blancpain GT Series Asia this year. The Australian team coming across, and there's talk of more for the future. There's another of the Australian squads, the M Motorsport KTM Crossbow, with that very distinctive front bodywork that instead of being a door is a whole front section that opens up. More Australian drivers down the pit lane in the likes of Nick Foster and Tim Slade, the 8 supercar racer, or supercars as we now must call it. And the cooling device there just to help number 27 before Nick Foster heads out onto the circuit. John O'Lester and he were winners in Shanghai in style, and that brought Nick Foster into the mix in the championship. So the driver's being warned that really the second half of the lap has got oil down. And they will go again very shortly for Q2 to get underway. Qualifying 2 is imminent. 1 minute before the pit lane opens. So waiting for the GT4 battle to resume. There you've got the 2 BMW Team Studi entries, and 81 and 82. 81 for this session will be Takayuki Kaneshita, and it will be Max Chen to go into 82. Number 8 Ferrari will be Daisuke Aito there. And we have a green flag. So Q2 should be underway. It is now, and it's number 3 Audi that goes out first. Martin Rump. Now that could be a car to watch, couldn't it? Because we know that Martin Rump is quick. Another single-seater racer turns GT racer. He absolutely excelled this time last year in the rain at Zhejiang. Shares that car with Frankie Cheng, who did Q1. Martin Rump, former Formula Renault racer, former Formula Masters China champion, and goes out onto the circuit ready then for 15 minutes, which soon disappears when you take a couple out for your outlap. 999 there, Patrick Niederhauser putting himself up near the front of the queue in the Gruppe M Mercedes. And 37 is Alessio Picariello, who will be another driver to keep an eye to, because he too is always very rapid indeed. Bentley number 5 is now Alex Young, the former Minardi Grand Prix driver, and losing track position there against Aidan Reid in the Porsche. So 991 in a hurry. Aidan Reid switching camps from Lamborghini to Porsche for this season. Comes then now down through turns 16 and 17. Through the hairpin, you can see that's effectively turn 18, sharp right-hander, and then keep wriggling down the hill. So over the timing line goes Martin Rump. We've got the team manager of 88, which is the Craft Bamboo Racing run Naomi Zhang, Diana Rosario Mercedes, to go and see the stewards after this session. Very wide indeed goes Martin Rump, but he will do the target time here. 27 cars in total, only 23 thus far have ventured out onto the circuit. So Martin Rump then, the driver from Estonia, on target to offer up the target time here. And let's see what the sectors are going to be. A 38.793 in sector 1. Remember, the best lap we had in Q1 was a 142.838. Red flag. Red flag is being shown. Now for why, we haven't yet seen a car off the road, but 12 minutes on the clock, and oh, there's the reason. It's the Bentley that stopped just to the side of the road, and that would be Jordan Pepper, would it not? So there's also a Mercedes that's gone off the road. 72 rejoining is Alex Au. So the Bentley stationary. And that would, I suspect, be electrical or mechanical that has stopped it. I don't think, looking at where it is, it's had a spin and stalled on rejoining. So everybody to return to the pit lane. That's the instruction from the race director. Jordan Pepper stranded on the side of the circuit. That's the reason for the stoppage, because the car can't be pushed out of harm's way easily, and so rather than do a full course yellow and eat into the session, you stop the session, and when it's a red flag in qualifying, the clock stops. So 12 minutes and 13 seconds will be given back to the teams. Great shame that the car should stop, because the Bentleys had been looking quite competitive earlier on, but the car in strife. Incidentally, number 28 Ferrari that we saw in grief earlier on, that Tim Slade at the wheel has been onto the circuit. The South African driver Jordan Pepper gets out of the car and no doubt has been doing his best to get it started again, and perhaps has had the opportunity to talk to the team and say, it stopped, what do I do? If they can communicate and they can give him instruction, they'll have tried, but it needs to be retrieved. So the car goes no further for the moment. Whether it will be allowed to rejoin the session, we'll have to wait and see. Down the pit road goes 66, the GT4 championship leader, Reinhold Orenger. He's had a variety of co-drivers, and he's also done some races on his own this year, so he doesn't have to worry about splitting points with a co-driver. He is going to be, if he does take the crown, it'll be him in isolation. Right, so everybody back down the pit road, and we'll be good to go as soon as possible here. Jordan Pepper's car is the one that's caused this interruption. And you see all the cars being pulled back. They park in the 45-degree formation, herringbone formation, ready for quick release when the session goes live once more. So we hadn't even got a lap time in from anybody before that interruption came. It means, therefore, that basically the session is going to be a very, very frantic one because they've lost really 3 minutes up to that red flag. They're going to lose another 2 pretty much by an outlap. So it's going to be a 10-minute blast, effectively, in Q2. There's 81 back down the pit road. The BMW for this session of Takayuki Kinoshita. BMW Team Studi, new to the championship this year, but really has made people sit up and take notice. It's been a team that's done a really impressive job. Win after win, pole after pole. And Yukisho, who has now been on pole for every session he has done, including and since Buriram. So only Sepang has not had a pole position for him. It's quite an impressive record, that. Number 11, Porsche, there. Brian Lee to do Q2 in the Cayman. The Cayman already looking a little bit in need of an upgrade, dare one say, against the more recent GT4 machinery, like the BMW, like the Mercedes, for example. And the Cayman, which was the car to have last year, has been, through no fault of the teams, just the way that progress has evolved, been looking a little bit overshadowed this season. So as soon as we can get the session back underway, we will, but it needs the Bentley to be retrieved, brought off the circuit. Might be able to come down one of the access roads, or it might need to be towed or dragged all the way around the road or the circuit. We'll keep an eye to it. Another car to watch in this session, and we've had so few, of course, being able to do anything in a sector even, will be 97 Mercedes. Rudolf Bryans went so well in it in the earlier session in Q1. And now it's going to have Manuel Metzger at the wheel, who excels in the Mercedes AMG GT3 in Europe, both in Blancpain GT and also in the VLN and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Very experienced driver. They're the TTR Team SARD squad, oversees number 11 Porsche. So we don't yet have a restart time for Q2, but this is all dependent, of course, on the road being clear and then us being good to go. Ripperan at the pit out end. If you think back to Shanghai, you might remember how we've been looking ready for the start of Q2 and everybody lined up, and as the lights went green, out of nowhere appeared Raffaele Marciello. Just charged out of the garage, straight to the head of the queue, first onto the circuit, and off he went. So it might be that Marciello is on his toes once again here, ready to get back out when the session is live. But the fast lane not yet open, so we are still a few minutes away, seemingly. Just wonder whether the recovery vehicle might even be able to go the wrong way around the circuit, because it can't be that far away from the start of the lap, can it? But the Bentley being retrieved at the moment, and then we'll be able to get the session back underway as soon as. Makes a fine sight looking down the pit lane, doesn't it? The Mercedes badge is all at the head of the pit lane, but then you go further down, you get the Nissan, the Ferrari, Audi, Lamborghini. Really is a great sight that the Blancpain GT Series Asia makes. Heading to new venues next year for Season 3. And, of course, GT racing in this part of the world becoming increasingly popular, evinced by the success of the Suzuka 10 Hours earlier on in the season. Number 8 there, the Ferrari, the car from ARN Racing. Daisuke Aito will be the man behind the wheel of that for this session. So we are still awaiting the circuit to be cleared, and then to get activity underway. We'll be there as soon as. Bentley's not the easiest of cars to remove, I suspect. They always look big. Of course, in a sense, it's a bit of a false impression because the cars are all built to a regulation and they all have as much weight taken out as possible, but the Bentley just always looks like a big car. But it will be as light and nimble as any. Phoenix Racing Team and Moses squad. Very successful from the DTM and from the Nürburgring 24 Hours with Audis, but now starting to concentrate on other brands from within the VAG, Volkswagen Audi Group, and Bentley being the current one. Fast lane opens in 1 minute, so the road is clear, and the Bentley retrieved, or at least it's out of harm's way, let's put it that way, and then we'll be good to go. So, place your bets for pole position. 12 minutes and 13 seconds remain. Jordan Pepper, I've just seen running up the pit lane. No car, but Jordan is back. So he has legged it up the pit road. All of this, of course, still does play into the hands of number 63, because they've still got 12 minutes of the session. All of this is giving them more repair time, and so we might yet see the car on the road, and we might yet get a decent lap time out of number 63. Extraordinary to think that all of these stoppages actually have a positive effect for anybody, but it does happen. It also shows you, though, what looked like a fairly innocuous touch has resulted in a lot of work needing to be done. The fast lane is now open, so those that can blast to the end of the fast lane, ready to get the session underway once more. 12 minutes, doesn't give them much time, but there's enough. So nobody has yet done a lap time in this session. In Q1, Nico Bastian, remember, 1 minute 42.838 as the fastest. There's number 11 Porsche, which will be set to go in the hands of Brian Lee, and the lights going green at the end of the pit lane any second now. It is imminent that Q2 will be back underway. So apologies for the delay, but the oil going down after the contact and then a stranded car all adds up. Green flag, we are back live, and 888 will be the first one out, and it is that man Marciello then who storms away with Patrick Niederhauser behind him. Then number 3 Martin Rump, who was looking quick earlier. 666 is Reinhold Renger in the GT4 Mercedes. Then it is Mitch Gilbert being given a really hard time straight away by Alessio Picariello. So get out of the way, I want a bit of clear real estate here. So Picariello in 37 Audi goes blasting past him. The Porsches leave the pit lane. Manuel Metzger there, 97, lagging back a little bit, seemingly to try and get some clear track space. If you can't be the first out, you want to be the last. Let everybody go, and then you have as much clear road ahead as possible. '63 still in the pits, still the work continues. Even if it's completed, they've still got to put a lot of bodywork on it, but it looks as though they might be heading towards the end of that repair operation. So at the end of the next lap, we can start to look for times, see how crowded it is. It's a busy circuit. All the drivers have been saying how many corners and how hard it is to overtake. It doesn't really have a very long straight, unlike Shanghai, where you have the pit straight and the back straight to benefit from a toe and do some heavy braking and gain the overtaking position. It's not quite as easy around here, so qualifying is of great importance. Then number 19 Martin Kodrich, then in the car that Dennis Lind has put onto the front row of the grid for race 1. Behind him you've got Tim Slade in 28 Ferrari. Alessio Picariello, after that very eager exit from the pit lane, might well have a case to answer there, whether or not you should overtake as you're heading down the pit road or not. The officials might want to have a look at that, just thinking about it. Way, way wide goes Raffaele Marciello. We've had people in the single-seater sessions having lap times taken away for track limit abuse. We've not yet had it in qualifying here, but I can imagine if that persists, the race director is going to get a little bit more antsy about it. So lap times will now start to come on this lap. We need to be looking at sector times. Team managers of car 8, which is the ARN Racing Ferrari, and the 97 Indigo Racing Mercedes, being summoned up towards the stewards, but Raffaele Marciello then does the absolute best thus far in Sector 1. Behind him, look, you've got Patrick Niederhauser, who is 3/10 down in the first sector. Raffaele Marciello, Blancpain Sprint champion already this year. Just a joy to watch in these cars. He was an absolute star in single-seater racing, but the career didn't really progress. He was on the Ferrari junior driver ranks, but it's as a Mercedes driver that he's had great success, and his reputation as a GT driver has absolutely soared in the last 18 months. Comes then now through turn 15, drops down the hill through the kink. Road drops downhill, stand on the brakes, turn sharp right. And again, you see it's corner after corner after corner. It's like a constant S coming down the hill here. Over the timing line will go Marciello, and that is the target. Blimey, a 1:41.780 straight away. He's over a second quicker than the best time of Q1. Patrick Niederhauser goes second, actually slower than Nico Bastien. So the margin is 0.8 of a second between them. Adley Fong up to second fastest now. Patrick Niederhauser drops to third. Picariello is fourth. Martin Rump fifth. That changes, does it? Let's see, because Mitch Gilbert goes sixth fastest. Now, each car coming over the line, of course, has the ability to shuffle the order a little bit. And an incident there. Aditya Patel, Mitch Gilbert's Audi. Oh, Mitch Gilbert at the wheel, not liking Adley Fong. Comes across on him once, comes across on him twice. That's going to be looked at, surely. So Mitch Gilbert may have felt that he had been dealt with unfairly earlier on in the previous lap by Adley Fong, but even so, that was rather unnecessary, you could argue, especially coming past the race director's window. So we'll see whether anything comes of that, but it's interesting. Something I'm pretty sure must have happened on the previous lap to trigger that. 37 overtaking 86 at pit exit is under investigation, so the stewards are being busy here. That's on the timing screen now for all the teams to see. 81 BMW presses on. This now is Takayuki Kinoshita at the wheel of it. GT4 provisionally being topped by Reinhold Renger. And Marciello is the fastest. Now, we've only got 7 minutes of the session to go. Because they'd lost some before the red flag, and then you lose more with the outlap needing to be completed, you don't get that many laps in. Through goes 81 BMW then, out of turn 4. And this, the left at 5, that in turn takes you to turn 6, that long looper. Contact between 86 and number 7 is under investigation as well. Number 666 there is Reinhold Renger, who is currently fastest in GT4. He comes up towards the timing line. Does he go any quicker? He does a 54.609. That was a 54.8, slightly slower. Ben Porter, 51, the Lamborghini there, goes 14th quickest. Ben Porter in Andrew McPherson's car, 14th fastest, going strongly. So the order is Marciello, Slade, and then 97, third fastest, Manuel Metzger. Going to be really intriguing, that car this weekend, because as I've been saying, Metzger is quick. We've seen a really good effort out of Roelof Browns, and so that car has a real chance of a win. It's not in the hunt for the championship, but of course it can take points away from those that are. Battle of the Caymans there, or the Caymen, between Masahiko Aida and Brian Lee. There is number 72 Mercedes. Now this is Alex Au at the wheel. It's the car he shares with Ringo Chong. It's currently to be found 4th in GT4. And Kinoshita's BMW has just gone top in GT4. So Reinhold Renger has lost the provisional class pole. 97 Manuel Metzger is off the road but rejoins. Thankfully doesn't get wiped out by the Nissan that comes storming past him. So Manuel Metzger having it off. And the drivers, Adley Fong and Mitch Gilbert, going to the stewards after Q2 to explain themselves, understandably. Right, so here is Manuel Metzger then, coming downhill. Rudolph Browns did a good first effort in that car, and Metzger doing even better, third quickest. 8 Ferrari goes through. Daisuke Aito is currently 11th fastest. We've got 4 minutes on the clock, just over. There are the 2 Lamborghinis, which means that 63 is on the circuit. Marco Mappelli is out there. So that gives us, even though not all of them are circulating anymore, all 27 cars seen in the session. Jordan Pepper is the man that's going to start last on the grid, barring any penalties for anybody that might loom, because he didn't get a time in before the car ground to a halt. For Marco Mappelli, this I think is more of a test session now than a proper qualifying run. He just wants to make sure the car is good, because it's the only opportunity they will get to know if it's been glued back together properly before race 1 this afternoon. Race 1 is due to start at 20 past 3 local time. It's now 12:30 local time. Set your watch. So 991 Aidan Reid, the Australian driver, bouncing over the curbs through the turn 11-12 chicane. Then the softer chicane at 14 before you get up to the hairpin here. Gets past fellow countryman Tim Slade, who's backed off on this lap. Nick Foster is up to third, though, in the red Ferrari. Nick Foster third fastest. Martin Rump has just come down the pit road. Martin Rump 9th quickest. But Aidan Reid in 991 here, looking pretty good in the first sector, but he's lost out a bit in traffic in the second sector. He's got the sister car up behind him as well. 911 is Shea Davis. So the 2 Australian drivers together, and Shea Davis is 14th. So the 2 of them together on the road, together in terms of time. Mitch Gilbert, only 15th in the OD Racing Team WRT entry. OD for O'Dear, sadly, this season. It just has not been as good as last year. Last year they missed out on the championship by just a point. Went down to that last race, but that was after 2 wins in the final weekend and a really good season, but it's just never clicked this year. They've gone from Absolute to WRT, which has such a good pedigree in European GT racing with Audis, but it's just not clicked. Tim Slade hard at work. You see the Ferrari getting a bit crossed up there as he came out of turn 6. And now to the hairpin, turn 9. Through he goes. It's a busy lap for the drivers. This the run through the chicane where those curbs are given an awful lot of attention. We've got a minute and a half still on the clock. Can Tim Slade get pole position? He has gone quicker than anybody in the first sector. Tim Slade is down in the second sector compared to what he has done hitherto. There's also a little bit of traffic up the road. The Porsche there, look, is Shea Davis, number 911. And he's not really on a quick lap here, but Shea Davis might just affect the outcome of this lap for his fellow countrymen. Let's see. Another of the Australians, Mitch Gilbert's down the pit road, the Malaysian-born Australian. So 1 or 2 of the drivers now bailing, and Slade has backed off. The traffic in the way, and that, I'm afraid, means he's going to have to try and go once more. He'll get 1 more lap out of it as he comes through. But the traffic getting in the way, not deliberately, just inevitable, I'm afraid, with 27 cars in the entry. Through goes Nick Foster, currently 3rd fastest in number 27 Ferrari. How is 666 getting on? Reinhold Renger is 2nd in GT4. He's got to find 69 thousandths to go onto class pole position, but it's easier said than done. So Kinoshita remains quickest in GT4. Up to 18th overall. There's number 27 through, Nick Foster. Now this lap for Nick down in the first sector. Patrick Niederhauser has just gone up to 4th fastest, 142.294. And the flag is out as way wide. There off the road goes Nick Foster. Session at an end then. Number 23 Nissan has just boomed past the pits and goes 11th fastest, Florian Strauss. But Nick Foster, I don't think, is going to be an improver, although Manuel Metzger might be, because he has just gone quicker in Sector 1. There's 999, Patrick Niederhauser, the Swiss driver for the pit lane, ends up 4th. And 82 bailing out of the way there. That was Max Chen. So determined not to impede anybody, almost fell off the road. Number 18 is looking quite rapid on this lap as well. Alexander Imperatori heading up towards the timing line. Is he going to be an improver? He's not. Stays where he is. Imperatori rounding out the top 10 then. So the checkered flag is out. Everybody has now taken it, and Raffaele Marciello takes pole position. Amazingly, that's his first pole of Blancpain GT Series Asia. We've always said how quick he is, but it's never quite hooked up this year, but today it has by 0.184 of a second. So Lello, Raffaele Marciello, goes quickest, and Tim Slade second ahead of Nick Foster. So the two Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari second and third, and Gripperam first and fourth. Marciello and Niederhauser is 4th quickest. Manuel Metzger 5th for Indigo Racing, 6th Martin Kodrich. So significant that Kodrich is behind Niederhauser, championship rival, going into race 2. 7th quickest Adley Fong, 8th Alessio Picariello, 9th Martin Rump, and 10th Alexander Imperatori. Question marks over Fong and Mitch Gilbert for the little incident they had. So Raffaele Marciello has done it. He will start race 2 from pole position. Really good effort by the Italian. Let's hear from him. He's in the pit lane with Claire.
Okay, with us now, Raffaele Marciello in the Group M Mercedes car 888. Raffaele, brilliant lap right there. Tell us more about it.
It was a good lap. Did a few mistakes around the lap, so my lap could be better. It's good because we saved one set of new tires for the race, so I think we're in a good position to fight, and we'll see later.
And you've got the circuit down packed. It's the first time you've been here.
Yeah, I think it's the first time for everyone, so I mean the track is quite nice, different, but I really like it.
Brilliant, congratulations.
So Raffaele Marciello it is, a champion in Europe in GT racing this year, a pole position winner in Blancpain GT Series Asia. Gripperam locking out the front of the grid for each race because they've got pole across the two cars in each session. Great stuff in qualifying. Local time 12:38 now. Race 1 due to start at 15:20 if you're watching on the live streams. So we'll look forward to your company a little bit later on. It's going to be a great race this afternoon. A circuit the championship has never raced at before. Who is going to come out on top? We'll find out later in the day. From Claire Jedrick and David Addison. For now, it's goodbye from Ningbo.